Well, it has been more than 3 weeks now and still no sign of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 or the 239 people on board.
But the massive search in the southern Indian Ocean continues. Planes dispatched from Perth, Australia have resumed operations. 4 orange objects had sparked some hope, but a closer look on Monday found that they were not from the plane.
Australia is sending in a new search vessel equipped to listen for the ping of the plane's data recorders, but officials say a more defined area is needed for that equipment to be effective.
And now, adding to the frustration and the confusion, Malaysia says the final words from the missing plane were, quote, "Good night, Malaysian 370, and not the "all right, good night" that had been previously reported.
Well, the search for the missing plane is headquartered in Perth, Australia, and our Atika Schubert is there live with the very latest. So, Atika, more than 3 weeks in and the search has turned up nothing. The pinger locator will be of little use, of course, until they can pin down a more defined search zone, as we reported. What's the latest then from the search operations?
Well, the search continues, and they've sort of ramped up operations in the sense that they now have more planes and ships out there than they've ever had before. They've got 10 planes flying in the search area. A number of them took off here from Pierce Air Base, and they should, I would say about maybe 4 of them at least, should be in the search area by now. And there's about 9 ships also searching this area. They're searching an area of about 120,000 square kilometers today. No sightings of objects yet. We did have some objects that were sighted earlier this week, but it turned out yesterday when they pulled them aboard the ship that they were just fishing equipment. So they are hoping for more leads today, and of course the Ocean Shield, which is the vessel carrying the towed pinger locator, will hopefully be in the search area by the earliest tomorrow, and it will be able to help in the search even if they can't deploy the towed pinger locator yet. Rosemary.
And Atika, I'd be interested to get an idea on morale there and what's being said among searchers about this newly revealed discrepancy in the last words uttered in the cockpit, now believed to be "Good night, Malaysian 370. What does it say about the credibility of Malaysia Airlines as well?
Well, this is a good question, why there has been so much conflicting information from the Malaysian authorities. It's actually something that I asked the Australian Prime Minister about yesterday, and he responded saying that they're working on the best possible information they have. I mean, the fact is we don't know exactly where the plane went down. All we have are estimations from Inmarsat, from Boeing, from radar. Basically, these are just calculations based on what we know about how fast the plane was flying, its altitude, and where the last satellite handshake was received. And so that's why they're searching now this new area. But is it the right area? We simply don't know. It's our best guess with the best possible information at this point, Rosemary.
And this is the problem, isn't it? I mean, they've had to move the search field, but there are no guarantees that they're even looking in the right place now that they've had the problems. They've found what they thought were the best leads with those orange objects, but they were fishing equipment.
Yeah, I don't think it's clearly very disappointing for every search team to come back day after day and have found not being able to find any sign at all of the plane. But if you talk to many search teams, they say this is how it goes day after day until finally you luck out and there happens to be a breakthrough. Now the question is, are they looking in the right place at this point? We just don't know. There is that closing window where the flight data recorder, that black box, is sending out a pinging signal, or it should be, and that window will close in a few days because the battery will die out just 30 days after it was deployed. And that's why they're putting out so many assets to see if they can narrow down that search field before the battery dies out. So far, it's been unsuccessful though.
Very frustrating for everyone involved. But Atika Schubert, live there from Perth, Australia, many thanks to you. And we are standing by for a news conference from Perth with Australia's Search and Recovery Chief, and we will bring that to you live when it happens. John.
And Rosemary, the debate over exactly where Flight 370 went in the hours after communication was lost is heating up again after new claims about the plane's flight path and who may have changed it. Here's Nick Robertson.
This map of Flight 370's radar track was much of the reason for upset by survivor families last week. The image captured by still photographers in the family briefing. It shows a very different route from the left turn depicted until now, and it's raising even more questions about what exactly happened to Flight 370, questions the family members were unable to ask at the time.
The family briefings were closed door. Next.
Chinese relatives of Flight 370 passengers say they created the map from publicly available data. A source with knowledge of the investigation tells CNN that beyond doubt, the new map, if accurate, shows that someone with excellent flying skills was at the controls of the aircraft, that no one on board would have felt the turn. It's a claim that's getting heavy pushback from Malaysian officials.
As regards to the issue of information that's been revealed outside the press conference and or speculation and diagrams in Google or in anything else in the internet, I cannot confirm or discount. I can only base on what I've informed you in my PCs.
Investigation officials insist privately this new map is not theirs, that it doesn't match Malaysian radar readings. Despite refusing to comment publicly, Malaysian officials did say all the radar data is central to their investigation.
The manner of the air traffic control at the time of the aircraft make an air turn back is one of the very important criteria for the investigators to look at.
In a background briefing given to CNN, Malaysian investigators said they believed MH370 was, quote, flown by someone with good flying skills. And now a government source says they consider the turn a criminal act committed by one of the pilots or someone else on board.
Come on, seen him ready. Oh, this is great. He's at the controls of the aircraft here?
Yes.
Wow.
This is
Captain Zahari's friends refused to believe he could be the criminal controlling the plane.
I think finally it will come to a stage where people will think that he's a hero. When the things come out, I think he's a hero.
They are rallying to his defense. Show me pictures of a young Captain Zahari at flight school.
He's not around to defend himself. So that's why both Jason and I feel that it's our duty, to be at the front line, to tell the whole world.
But for some, the new map is casting a shadow over Captain Zahari's memory. The source with knowledge of the investigation, who is also a friend of Captain Zahari's, tells us that emotionally he doesn't want to believe it, but logically, he says, he has nowhere else to turn. For him, at question the flight path of the plane in its final hours, flying an arc towards the sunrise. Possibly because whoever was piloting it wanted to land it on the sea, sink it intact, make its discovery that much harder. Nick Robertson, CNN, Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia.
Well, as the wait for answers drags on, we are learning more about some of the people on board the missing plane. Our Sarah Seidner tells us about a young couple who had embarked on what was meant to be a very special trip.
This was supposed to be the happiest time of their lives. Newlyweds Norli Ahmar Hamid and Mohammed Razahan Zamani were on their way to their honeymoon in Beijing. Zamani was particularly excited because after saving up for a whole year, he was taking his very first trip abroad with the woman he adored.
First time go to outside in the country.
The first time they've been on a honeymoon, cousin Mohammed Shahrial Shahari said. The honeymooners never made it to their destination. Their plane left on March 8th, flight MH370 from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing.
Kita memang dah excited dah nak pergi dah.
He was so excited to go. He was already on the plane. It was just a matter of reaching his destination. I just feel so helpless, he says. We really don't know, and we have never experienced these things before. Shahari says he's been to every family briefing, listened to every detail, and felt every bit of heartbreak as the days changed to weeks without any sign of the missing plane. When we met you, you were smiling and talking with us. How do you stay so positive during all of this turmoil?
Memang daripada luaran kita nampak happy.
It is difficult. We look happy on the outside, but we're dying inside. Only God knows what's inside of me. He says one of the worst days for the family was this day.
It is therefore with deep sadness and regret that I must inform you that according to this new data, flight MH370 ended in the southern Indian Ocean.
Malaysian officials then informed the families all lives were lost. But a few days later, the acting transportation minister talked of the remote but possible chance of finding survivors.
I'm always hoping against hope, and I'm praying. And the SAR is also, in any remote manner, has always been to find for survivors.
Who do you believe?
Bagi saya lebih percaya.
I prefer to believe Mr. Hishamuddin because he has vowed to carry on searching till we find this plane, while our Prime Minister has said that the plane ended in the Indian Ocean, though he didn't say it had crashed or anything like that, leaving a lingering hope that this marriage did not end in tragedy. Sarah Seidner, CNN, Kuala Lumpur.
And you can follow all the developments on Flight 370 at any time on our website. CNN.com has the latest details on the search and the investigation, passengers' personal stories, as well as expert analysis. And we'll take you on board one of the search planes and explain the technology to be used in an underwater search. You will find all of that at CNN.com.